when the opponent can clearly see it coming, it's not going to be effective. And until Kevin Lee addresses that, I think he needs to address that, and I think he needs to address. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So Nick D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez handled business on short notice last night. Will likely be in the top 15 as per what Dana White told him come Tuesday morning. But the story here really is Kevin Lee's struggles continue, right?
Yeah, that was unfortunate to see. You know, we all thought Kevin Lee had this superstar potential going into 155 with a lot of steam. He created some controversy against Michael Chiesa and then was able to get a big finish. And, you know, we thought that there were some big things coming his way, maybe some gold coming into his life. And he kind of got the cosign from a lot of people, and he was giving some really good contenders of tough fights. But it just seems as of late he can't figure out how to get his feet under him and get a win on, onto his resume. So it's a bit unfortunate, but you got to give props to the tough fighters that he's fighting, and D-Rod is no exception. That guy is tough as nails and is the epitome of an ultimate fighter.
Yeah, not only does he look like an ultimate fighter, he is got the skill set to back it up. And those guys, the BMF Ranch guys, they don't know anything other than a short notice fight. Like what a short notice fight? Oh, you just mean a fight?
Yeah.
Short notice for Joe Schilling is between here and the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so those guys are on site, as the kids say, anytime. So credit to D-Rod, and I want to talk about his performance, but I think the struggles of Kevin Lee really kind of overshadowed what happened last night, and I was seeing some real technical flaws in the way that he was striking. You know, one of the most basic things you learn when you first start striking is that you use your feet to get in and out. And if punches are coming your way, even though it seems counterintuitive to people who don't do striking and train striking, you have to slip into the punches. So if a jab's coming, you have to slip down and away from the jab. Same thing with a straight. Well, the worst thing you can do is what actually feels natural to a novice, which is to lean back. And that basically you lean yourself right into the range that the other person wants you to fight at, especially if they're a bit bigger and taller like D-Rod was. Kevin Lee kept leaning himself right into heavy straight punches last night and got wobbled a couple of times, shot for a couple of desperation takedowns. It doesn't look like he's really coming along. We know he's a great wrestler. He's a strong guy. He's got that good, wrestling accolades. But you have to be, much like Khabib, you have to be able to work your striking good enough to get in and implement your game. Otherwise, your game can't be implemented. Think about Ryan Hall. You know, you just can't Imanari roll or shoot desperation takedowns. When the opponent can clearly see it coming, it's not going to be effective. And until Kevin Lee addresses that, I think he needs to address that, and I think he needs to address what weight class he's really going to fight at, because D-Rod looks substantially bigger than him last night.
Yeah, and, you know, Dana said he's not making a 165 division anytime soon. I know that's where Kevin said he would fit in best, but if you're going to 170, go to 170. That's fine. You look good there. 55, it's a bit of a more extreme cut, but you can still make it. So just figure out where you want to go, and then set your foundation there, and just grow as a fighter from there. But yeah, it is very frustrating to see somebody like Kevin Lee, who you want to see do well and move up the totem pole, just can't get a win. And you're so right about the striking. You know, everybody starts a combination with a jab or two jabs. You know.
Yeah.
And in the short term, moving your head backwards like that, you know, getting out of the way of the jab might keep you safe from that one jab or the two jabs, but that's not the punch you really need to worry about. It's that big power shot coming right after that, which everybody likes to throw it. And, you know, D-Rod has a very good one. You set up a power two with a double jab, and yeah, you might pull yourself back just enough to get out of the way of the two jabs, but that big shot's coming right after, and you're now compromised as far as balance goes and everything when you're leaned back like that, and you can't use your legs because you're heavy in your back one, so it's hard to shuffle back. It's just not something you need to do. Look at last weekend. Clay Guida's not the most technical striker by any means, but when you watch him slipping, he's slipping right down in front of the punches, and it just comes with, you got to have cold blood.
Yeah.
Professor Draculina says it all the time. When you're going to block punches or you're going to slip, you kind of have to just have some cold blood about yourself and just go embrace it. You got to go right into the fire. And Kevin Lee wasn't really doing that. And then when you talk about the ground game, anytime he wants to take a fight to the ground, he's taken 170 fighters right down to the ground, but his submission game isn't there. So, and you see this problem happen with a lot of wrestlers. He's not the only one. They can get the fight to the ground, but then they can't finish the fight from there. And a lot of wrestlers are pretty good with the ground and pound, but people in the UFC and that high level of fighter they're pretty good at defending the ground and pound, and they have an open guard that's at least good enough to keep them safe and not get the fight finished. So I think if you're a wrestler, you obviously have the advantage of getting the fight where you want it to go, but now you got to worry about finishing the fight.
Right.
Wrestling doesn't have submissions. Jiu-jitsu does have submissions. So work on those submissions, because I feel like if he had the submission game of some of the guys in the UFC, of the Paul Craigs or those types of guys, Pantoja,
or the people he's been submitted by.
Tony Ferguson,
Oliveira, then not only is he good or needs to work on his submission game, he needs to work on his defense to the submission game, because he's got a couple of marquee losses that have come. He got the takedown that he wanted and then ultimately got submitted. So I still am hopeful for Kevin Lee. There's a lot he needs to work on in his game, but I do still think that he could have a decent run because he is still a young guy.
So young, 28 years old. It's crazy to think that he's been in the UFC for as long as he has been. And, they were showing highlights. He wasn't just during the Reebok era. He was back before the Reebok, when they had like the NASCAR style pants, sponsors all over. And so he's been in the game for a long time. He's a veteran, but he's 28 years old. I feel like there's a Kevin Lee 2.0 that's just around the corner, and he needs to, bring that person to life. He needs to bring those skills to life. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be, searching the globe for the right team. Maybe just find what works for you, and, take some blame. Sometimes it's not your corner's fault. Sometimes it's not, anybody else's fault but your own. And I'm not saying that he went out there and had a bad performance, but he definitely didn't live up to the expectations of the fans, or I believe himself either.
Well, he was talking in the pre-fight build-up and some of the content that him and Kamaru Usman are going to have a date soon. So when you say something like that, you do put a certain amount of pressure on yourself, and you do need to back up that statement. People are going to want to see you. Well, if you think you're really good enough to be in there with Usman, then let's see you get past this guy, D-Rod, who's a tough as hell guy, but he's not even in the top 15.
Right.
But switching gears now, because it was D-Rod's night last night, and I want to give him some shine. I thought he looked very good. His we knew he's a great kickboxer, but I thought his takedown defense was very good. His awareness was good. He did get back up on the times that he did get taken down. I thought that I think his jiu-jitsu is underrated. I think his ability to create a scramble and stand back up is underrated. And I think he deserves a number by his name come Tuesday morning.
He does. And he deserves to fight somebody that's further along in the rankings than him. And don't go give him like the hardest wrestler in the division. Give him another striker. He's an exciting guy. He has a look that you can sell, and that he belongs on main cards, and I think people would really like him. He's got a fun style, and when he gets on the microphone, he's got that sort of gangster feel about him. He's not a fake gangster. That's a real tough guy.
He's a real tough guy.
And legit. And he's always down to take short notice fights, like you said. Those guys, they don't know anything else but fighting. So as long as you give them enough time to suck a few pounds off in the sauna, they're going to make the fight for you, and it's going to be a fun fight. I think that D-Rod has, like you said, good submission skills and defensive jiu-jitsu. But the best thing about what he was doing last night was when he got taken down, he was able to get back up to his feet and make the fight a standing match again. And nothing is more tired than a wrestler who just took you down and used a lot of energy to do it, and then didn't keep you there. And now you've got a 185, 200-pound guy back on his feet throwing strikes at you, who was conserving his energy while you were taking him down. And he did, have to use a little bit of strength to get himself back up, but the wrestler certainly has to use a ton of energy to get those takedowns. So it can kind of feel like a minor defeat for people like Kevin Lee and other good wrestlers that do get somebody to the ground, and then 30 seconds later they're right back where they were, before. Yeah,
they're tired and they're mentally kind of defeated by the fact that, man, I was trying to implement my game plan and this guy just made it easy.
Right.
And, so I think Daniel Rodriguez, he's in Vegas now. Yeah. He's got the consistency with the camp. He's looking better every fight. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. Maybe if Hamzat does beat Li Jinglang like a lot of us expect, I would love to see Jinglang versus D-Rod. I think that would be a great fight because both of those guys come throwing heat. That would be a stand-up fight, and I think Lee's a guy who's in that 10 to 15 range that would be a spectacular opponent. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Crazier things have happened, and we haven't seen Hamzat in over a year now. So it's easier said than done to just assume that Hamzat's gonna beat Jinglang. But that's a fight to me that stands out as something that would be quite interesting.
That would be a lot of fun. I think you'd have a really fun fight. It would be long on a main card, and D-Rod would certainly take that fight. You have no issues with him taking a fight against anybody in the UFC. So I look forward to seeing what he does next. Kevin Lee, go heal your wounds and come back stronger, because I think there's still a lot of potential for Kevin. He just needs to stay mentally strong and go work on those, fill in those holes that he's got in his game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the content, a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And let us know, where do you think Kevin Lee goes from here? And do you think D-Rod should be ranked? We always enjoy chatting in the comments with you all. And until the next video, have a wonderful day.
Peace.